Ah, okay. Now no one's going to complain about my hair. Yes, that's right. No one's going to complain about my hair because I've got oil in my hair and they're like all over the place. So this is why I'm wearing a hat. So anyway, today we're going to be covering Rahu transit over your planets, which means planets like Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Rahu Ketu over themselves. Okay. So one thing you have to understand is that, and this is important, you can't skip this. I know you all want to skip this, but you have to understand you must look at the degrees of your planets. You can't just say that, well, okay, so middle of May, Rahu is going to be now in Aquarius. And when you have planets in the sign of Aquarius, it's going to trigger those planets. But digrically, if let's say most of your planets, you got 3 planets in Aquarius around 3 or 5 degrees. Rahu is not even going to affect these planets until the beginning of 2027 or end of 2026. That is when he will really affect these planets. So you have to see like literally from the 5-degree onwards. The 5-degree difference is when Rahu begins to affect the planet. So of course, if you need to know the degrees of the planets, you can go to karasastrology.com, where especially in option 6, you will find my reports from option 6 onwards. And in that report, you will see all the degrees, literally in the first or second page of the report. Okay, so you can see where exactly it's going to affect us. So let's start out by how Rahu actually does when it comes to the planets. There's a difference when Rahu is in a sign. I explained that differently. When it's over a planet. Okay, so you have to understand this one thing, and from this one thing you can get everything out related to all the planets. Number one thing is Rahu is hunger. You know, when you feel like really hungry, like you just feel like there could be a buffet in front of you and you will eat that buffet. That is that Rahu hunger. Okay, that's the first thing. Rahu makes hungry. Rahu makes that planet hungry. So if you were full this whole time with the significance of the planet, now the hunger becomes active. The second thing that Rahu will do, obviously, its job is to expand whatever it touches. And especially when I discuss things related to the moon, it'll be different for women than men. Because especially moon gets affected differently with Rahu and with men and women. Okay? So it's going to expand things. The other thing that Rahu does is that Rahu wants to give importance. Remember, Rahu was trying hard to be something really important. If you know its story, which I don't want to get into over and over again. But Rahu is looking to become important. See, just by being in a certain sign, Rahu's not looking for these things. Or he's looking for these things, but it cannot be manifested. But when it touches the planet or the graha, this is where this part becomes active. Like if there is, it's kind of like if there's a rock that Rahu is touching. Rahu's like, I want this rock to now turn into a diamond. Even if it's a cubic zirconian, I want this to be turned exactly looking like a diamond. That's what Rahu does. Then on the other hand, okay, Rahu will also bring about expansion related to those planets. It wants to overblow something. That's the other thing that Rahu will do. Then on the other hand, Rahu is also Maya, right? Illusion. So you will see things connected to that planet, okay, and people connected to that planet, or things related to that planet, people will come and try to show you some amazing, magnificent things. Like, for example, in the last year, my email is filled with companies Literally, most of them are from India. They're like, we can give you all these subscribers. We can help you get minimum of this amount of views on your YouTube channel. And I'm reading that. I'm like, they have to be using bots if they're promising me something like that. Right? And most of it now I know. 70 to 80% of traffic is ballooned from bots from, I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm like, I'm not going to be touching that. And I was aware of it. Because of my Rahu transit, I knew these things would come into play because somebody connected with that Rahu's energy, especially in Pisces, will try to give those opportunities for me. But you have to be careful of what you sign up for, what you're getting into, because it can also backfire. So now that we know this, let's start with Rahu going over Sun. Also, the March horoscope for each ascendant is uploaded on KRS Vlogs on my Magha Vedic Astrology Academy. So you can check those out as well. I think I'll be uploading like Aquarius and Pisces by tomorrow tonight, once I come back from this one place. Okay. So you can check out those, and those are uploaded. And especially in those vlogs, I am going to add in the KRS vlogs, I'm going to add a video regarding retrograde Jupiter and something very important related to Jupiter, which cannot be discussed here in open forums like YouTube. Okay? Because then everybody will have opinion. But it's a very, very important thing with that Jupiter retrograde. Okay, so I'm going to discuss that as well by Sunday night or something. One thing I also wanted to say, whenever Rahu and Ketu, or especially Rahu, is triggering a planet, like it's triggering Moon, right? In the air signs. But not only it will trigger Moon, but also the 4th house and wherever the sign of Cancer is. So you can look at this with every single planet. It's known as Naisagya Graha and houses. So if Rahu is going over Sun, 5th house and wherever the sign of Leo is becomes active. Okay, so this is a trick of understanding this transit of Rahu and Ketu. So anyway, guys, this was my analysis of Rahu over planets. Next, we'll do either Jupiter or Saturn. Okay, we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Now, if your Rahu is over Sun or is trine from the Sun, meaning your Sun now has to be in air signs, Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. That's how this Rahu is going to affect, and especially you have to look at the degree. Now, it's interesting with Sun. Ketu has been in Virgo and is going into Leo, right? Virgo is what? Jobs, service. Literally, what have you seen in the past year and a half? Vast majority of the people around the world have lost jobs. Companies have done mass layoffs since Ketu has gone into Aquarius. Now Ketu is literally around 3 degrees of Virgo, which means Ketu is pretty much now starting to behave like it's in Leo. And what do you see especially right now in US? Doge. Government employees losing their jobs. What is Leo? Leo is Sun, government. It's the government administration. Leo is known as the sign of solution provider. And what is a government supposed to do? It's supposed to provide solutions. So this is why you see, especially now, government employees around the world could be at the risk of losing position. But now, this is why I'm saying this. Rahu being in an air sign trine from Sun, what did I say? First of all, it's going to increase the hunger with Sun. Sun is authority. Sun is fame. Okay. Sun is your family genes. Is the ancestral gene that has been passed into you. So what happens with Rahu trine from Sun? Such people, number one, will find themselves getting big notoriety. Rahu with Sun will push the person. 100% cannot be said until we see the chart. Push the person to a point where they want to be the known authority in something. Number 3, Rahu, especially with those who are seeking government jobs, those who are seeking government grants, government loans, now Rahu brings that success with it. But obviously, Sun in the position of Sun in Libra is not going to be great for getting things from the government in terms of jobs. Business deals, yes. Like, for example, if you look at a USAID, which I'm sure you've known, every single person wanted, just give me some money. Give me some money here. Here, look, I have the foundation, I have the organizations, and all they did was they just had to add 3 things. Diversity, equity, inclusion. We want to promote this. Oh, great. Here, have $60,000. Here, have $3 million. Here, have $20 million. It was a great deal, right? But still, that doesn't mean that just because Doge is here and USAID stopped, that they're not going to be giving grants. They will, but only to those people who have the sun trine from, or Rahu going trine from their sun. And especially, like I said, it's to do with lineage. That means Rahu can now provide the pathway for continuing the lineage. Meaning those who want to have children, okay? Obviously, Saturn, Jupiter have to be seen, but Rahu here definitely is going to try the best when it's around the degrees of the sun to activate and pass on your lineage. So, and Rahu loves doing this. Why Rahu loves doing this? Because Rahu wants more people to put into its Maya. It's like saying that with AI taking over and AIG taking over, what's going to happen to our jobs and work? Well, let me tell you something. Billionaires and trillionaires around the world don't become billionaires and trillionaires by not having people employed. Because it is those people who have to generate something to give them that. If nobody has money because AIG is doing everything, AI is doing everything, who's going to pay the service to that billionaire who has created something? So there's going to be this balance. And this balance will only come in when Rahu actually enters Capricorn. Okay, that's where government will step in to make AI in such a... And this is going to happen worldwide. Don't think China is trying to just move forward, because China has to make money too. If everybody is dealing with AI and robots, okay, I have no job, I have no work. What do I do now? I can give you money. I can go to the grocery store and buy something. I can get your imported, exported items here and give you that money. So there's going to be that balance. Okay? But especially, like, you will see a lot of people can go viral with Rahu going across meeting Sun. Okay. Now, there is 2 different distinctions of fame and defame. Right? So you cannot be getting involved with something that is now going to get you caught and then give you some kind of a positive side of fame. So these things that those particular infamy will have to be seen from the actual ascendant itself, which I won't say here. You know, it's like a necessary fear you put into people when you do that. So this is what Rahu is going to be doing when it comes closer to your sun. Okay, and remember, sun is success. In Nadi, sun represents success. So when Rahu is meeting sun, that success is now getting a magnification glass in front of it. Okay. So when Rahu is meeting moon in Aquarius, Libra, or Gemini, because like I said, all air signs are going to be affected with Rahu. So planets in them become important. And like I said, it's different for women, different from men. Why? Because women are strongly affected by moon due to the menstrual cycle. Okay. And this is where and women are ruled more by emotions. Men are more ruled by actions. So on one end, if females who have moon in the air signs, okay, there would be this sudden hunger to wanting to speak to people. Like friendships become the most important for women during this entire transit of Rahu. Okay. For them to communicate, and especially whether it's marriage or relationship, for them, they need to seek that communication. Otherwise, they're going to feel down. Because right now, it's like Moon's energy is trying to get this push, is trying to go big, overblown. And if things are not being filled there, what is happening? If things are not being filled, there's emptiness within that womb of the moon. And this is why emotions can run really high. And depending upon the sign that is placed in, like Aquarius, can bring in enormous desire, and especially desire for social activities. And if they don't take place, that's when the person feels down. Gemini, wanting to simply communicate with your friends and family. Wanting to get your, wanting to be heard by people other than your social circles. Everyday communications become very important and hungry. With Libra, it's going to be with marriage. Meaning if you are married to a woman who has moon in Libra, this is going to be the time that, especially when Rahu is around that 5 degree behind, okay, and especially 4 or 5 degrees in forward to moon, this is where the most important thing that is going to be is always talking to your wife. Hey, what's going on? So what do you want? Should we do something? Why don't we do this and this? And especially with Libra, when you communicate about how to improve the other person's life for the sake of the marriage, they will feel more balanced. They'll be like, okay, I'm being heard. My communication is being heard, meaning they don't even have to talk because you're already fulfilling that need. Otherwise, then you will see that you will have to hear that, hey, how come we don't ever communicate? Why don't we talk? How come you're always busy with Moon in Libra? And Aquarius part, okay, one then also has to be careful of the social circles that you have, that you make, and what you do for them. Because emotionally, one can also feel manipulated by the social circles. Okay. When it comes to men, simply what becomes active with the moon is ambition. The mind is not filled with ambition. Mind is racing fast because naturally in air signs, moon is just always exhausting itself. Because remember, moon is water, Jal Tattva. When you put a lot of air, like let's say you have water on your floor and you take a fan or hair dryer, what's going to happen? Even with the cold air, the water is going to start evaporating. It doesn't need to boil to evaporate. It's going to start drying up. So what happens is when moon in the air signs now gets Rahu, too many ideas. Okay, I want to do this, 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 I want to do that. I want to go here, I want to travel there. And definitely because moon is naturally also the mother, or even females in general, like I just explained, they will have a strong desire to wanting to travel to some foreign place, faraway place. Also, both for men and women, overindulgence in food will be there during that time. Something unusual with the food may even take place. Sometimes what happens is somebody who's overindulging now gets this obsession towards emptying out that indulgence. And they'll suddenly go into a major obsessive fasts. But because moon is food, and especially if moon is in a good or strong place, then that desire for food becomes active, and especially exotic foods. Exotic foods, exotic meats, wanting to try all kinds of different things. And this is where the travel idea comes into play. How? Because on social media, on your phone, you're looking at somebody in some country, like you're looking at Japan, Tokyo, and you're seeing all the yakitoris and all the sushi and all that. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go. And my God, I was in Tokyo for a whole week. Oh, the food, just, oh my God, it was just amazing. I love Tokyo. I love Japan. Whoever's in Tokyo and Japan, oh my God, you guys are so lucky. It's just, well, I'm speaking from perspective of a artist and a photographer. I mean, that place, I don't know the economy or the life, how it is there, but from the art perspective, every single corner in Tokyo, which you would have seen, especially on my Facebook photography page, Kapiel Raaj Photography, all my photographs from Japan, every single corner, you just want to photograph something. But anyway, I know I'm digressing. But this is what, Rahu does. And especially Rahu suddenly gives you ideas of moving. Even if you don't have the combinations right now to move, you'll be like, okay, what about we move here? I think we should move here. I think we should move there. So natural desire for moving takes place. Okay, but if, because remember, Jupiter itself is in Gemini. So if Rahu and Jupiter are both naturally triggering the moon while you're in the Dasha and Antra Dasha of 4th and 5th Lord from your birth or your, D4 chart, then yeah, there would be a move. Okay. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be different for both men and women. Venus somehow, or even moon, because moon is cash flow. Moon is either cash flow or flood of money going out. Okay. And that's, actually, I should add that with Rahu and moon, the cash flow becomes enormous. But also, if you're not careful, you can get caught up in some scheme to let go of that money as well. Okay, so I'll probably add this particular part in my Rahu moon connection as well. So when Rahu is meeting Venus in Aquarius, or if your Venus is in Gemini or Libra, well, the hunger for marriage is going to be active. And the fulfillment of desire becomes extremely strong now for marriage to happen. Because remember, marriage is not something that is like, just say, okay, at this point, the marriage is going to happen, nothing else. No. It's when bunch of planets are just now so concentrated. They're so concentrated on a one particular aspect. They're like, all right, let's just do this. Okay. So we already know Jupiter and Rahu are together naturally in the air signs this year. Okay, and your Venus is there. Now, for example, when naturally Sun and Mercury and Venus itself comes in the air signs, they can trigger marriage for you in that particular right moment. Even if like Rahu is in Navamsha, going over your Venus or trine from Venus, it's going to trigger strong talks of marriage. Even if you don't want to get married, because yeah, there's combinations where you may not get married. But your family is going to push you very strongly, and you yourself will suddenly feel like, maybe I should. Why not? So yeah, that hunger for relationship becomes active. On the other hand, there's sudden hunger for luxury item. Something triggers itself. And you will see, literally between like March onwards, like impulsive decisions will be made connected to vehicles, connected to jewelry, connected to luxury items, homes. For example, you have an Android phone. Not anymore. You're going to be getting yourself an iPhone. Why? Because it is known as the elite phone, right? And what is Rahu? Rahu's wanting to be an elite, even though actually Ketu's elite. Ketu's elitism with Matsya Avatar. Okay. If you read the story of Matsya Avatar, you'll know. But the thing is, it energizes that Venus that, hey, I want to present something nice now with me. Which means you have a normal handbag. Now you want yourself that Prada. Now you want yourself that Louis Vuitton bag. So these things, that hunger becomes active. And then naturally, what is Venus? Besides this marriage, it's also money. Expansion of money takes place. This is the area that you are going to be completely motivated to expand your money. But also with expansion, what comes? Rahu can also bring in manipulations, trickery. So especially when it comes to financial investments and financial crypto stuff, be very careful not get sucked into it. Because young people will. I have done those stupid things in my 20s. And I paid the price by getting sucked into some of these schemes. Okay? And especially, you want to be careful. If, let's say, Saturn is also in the air sign in your birth chart, and then Rahu is going and meeting your Saturn and Venus together, now you want to be careful who comes in your life for a relationship. Because they will try to disguise as something else to get something else from you. I'm not saying every single person will be that. But you just have to be vigilant. And this video is your remedy. By you watching this video, it is becoming a remedy for you because now you're alert. Now I know what Kara said about this. All right, let me be careful. So for example, you meet somebody online. Turns out to be Brad Pitt, who is in love with you. Maybe you want to do some research on who Brad Pitt is before you send them $850,000. I guarantee you, the woman who was scanned with Brad Pitt's images, Rahu has to be triggering Venus somehow, or even Moon, because Moon is cash flow. Moon is either cash flow or flood of money going out. Okay. And that's actually, I should add that with Rahu and Moon, the cash flow becomes enormous. But also, if you're not careful, you can get caught up in some scheme to let go of that money as well. Okay, so I'll probably add this particular part in my Rahu Moon connection as well. Now with Rahu Mercury, okay. What happens is Mercury is your communication. So naturally, first thing you will see, Mercury is dual. Mercury is the number one significator of duality. Even though Jupiter itself rules dual signs. But Mercury is the number one significator of duality. And it's the DNA that was given through the moon. Moon itself is duality. Half the time it's waxing, half the time it's waning, and then it just goes away for one day. So this is how Mercury got its thing. So what happens with Rahu Mercury, your speech can become very dual and confusing. Well, what happens is not even confusing. You're going to deal with things in your life where one section of the people will hear something else from you. Then you will also say something else to the other section of the people, which will be contradicting to the other thing. Kind of like a politician who will say things in such a clever manner that even if they're caught red-handed, okay, doing something, they will be on the television, and as soon as you put them on the fly or on the surface, you put them on the stand, they'll cleverly just kind of go around that particular question. They will deviate from it and yet still answer it. You take anything, any country, any politician. So one becomes very clever with their communication, which also shows the hunger for business becomes active with people with Mercury in Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. And especially with Rahu and Mercury, one will also naturally get into investments. Oh, what is stock market? What is crypto? But on the other basic level, obsession towards learning. You know, like people who are trying to get into like higher education. I'm not talking about elite schools. That may happen with Jupiter or even Venus. But I'm talking about that obsession to learn something is going to be active. And usually with air signs, usually it's IT, marketing, communications, sales. This knowledge you're going to obsessively look for that particular knowledge. And also you will see during this time period, if you have younger sister or maternal aunts, okay, they will be the most communicative people with you during this time. You'll get calls and text messages from them. But only, like I said, younger sister or maternal aunts. And especially during this time, they will travel. They will have sudden urge to travel to a foreign place. And also when it comes to writing, even though we're in the age of AI and Chat GPT 4, 5, 6, okay, Mercury with Rahu, any business deal that needs to take place, whether your deals take place on a text messages, over emails, okay, or especially as a contract. One, you can be very good at convincing somebody to do something for you. But also when it comes to the written contract, you better read it 10 times. Because Rahu represents the smoke and mirrors. Represents Maya. Like one is reading a contract and somehow your eyes can skip 2-3 lines and you can start reading from there and you never realize when you skipped those lines. So whenever you're about to sign some contract, with especially Mercury being, and it's only going to happen when Mercury is that closer degree to, or when Rahu is closer degree to Mercury. It's always better to not only have your attorney look at the contract, you yourself read every line. Because this is the position that can bring the most trickiest contract. Meaning, it's such a gray area that you win, but they can also win. Like, for example, you're trying to get some copyright from somebody about something. You got their copyright, but guess what? They still attain that copyright. You didn't own it. The way it was worded, you licensed it. And you will see, especially this Rahu-Mercury combination especially is extremely good for coding. You're going to see some major advancements in your coding journey. Okay, and especially this is going to be the period where that, like I said, obsession for business is going to be strongly active. And if you have combinations for business, then it's going to start the business. It's going to start the business. I remember when my Rahu went over Mercury, that's when I started my business. Because that was the Karka Avastha. Okay, but a lot of times, especially if Mercury, let's say, is in Gemini and Rahu is now transiting, many people will have a hard time trusting you because of that duality that you bring. people may have a hard time trusting you and what you're saying. And so this is where that awareness needs to be, that I need to, whatever I say, I need to stick to it and I need to own up to it. If I made a mistake, I made a mistake. That's it. So if you can do that, that's when you'll be sailing. Okay. But what happens is with Rahu wanting to expand something, when you come, I mean, this is the period. Like, even if you're not a communicator, but if you go somewhere and you start talking around that degree when Rahu is 5 degrees back and forth from your Mercury, something will take over you and you will communicate like you have never done it before. It's like Tony Robbins talking. But Rahu, Mercury, because Mercury loves being in Gemini and Virgo. I mean, the extraordinary intelligence, and especially Mercury, Mercury and Rahu combination may even bring interest in games, chess, or what is that? Connect? What is it called? Dot, Connect, or just even video games. A lot of people will just love playing that, even if you have not played it before. You'll download games on your phone. And especially with Mercury Rahu, you'll download many apps on your phone. The most apps will be downloaded will be Rahu Mercury combination. But what did I say? Especially if you have taken my Nandi Nadi course, I talked about smartphone Vastu. If you haven't checked that out, you can check it out in that course about how your Vastu can actually be done on your smartphone. Okay. Now we're going to talk about Rahu Mars. So when Rahu is meeting Mars, naturally what happens is it brings very unusual, very unorthodox, eccentric situations with younger brother and your best friend. Whether it's with you or in their own life. The most unusual things, especially with Mars and Rahu. Okay, you need to tell your younger brother and best friend to be careful on social media of what you say. Because nowadays, the only thing we have to worry about is social media, where it can really negatively impact you. This is the period most people will be like, I need to expand my property. Sales of lands, lands and homes. Well, not overall, I can't say. Maybe unless the country has Mars in an air sign. Okay? Because air goes everywhere, right? So what happens is if a person has a structure, there is going to be this need to expand it. Let's build an extra room. Let's build this extra thing. And the other thing with Mars Rahu, anger becomes very unpredictable. Because Mars is anger, no matter where it sits. Okay. If it's in an air sign like Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, you're going to be triggered with anger. And it'll be like surprisingly that anger comes in. Even if you're the most quiet, peaceful individual, Rahu's going to trigger that. And the way it's going to trigger it is the house that it's happening. From your ascendant, the house that it's activating it is going to trigger those anger coming from that particular house. For example, let's say Mars is in Aquarius in the 6th house. Somehow your cousins, maternal aunts, uncles, or someone who works under you, somebody who comes in, cleans your home, they can trigger a mass anger with you. Now, and the thing is, thankfully, because Jupiter is going to be in Gemini, it brings that anger, but also resolves it quickly. But both, if you look at both Jupiter and Saturn, around the same time begin to look at all the air signs. I mean, this is like one is expansion, the other is explosion. Okay. So both of them can trigger huge anger, but Jupiter is the one who, in the end, puts the band-aid on things. And also with Mars Rahu, you will, well, not Mars Rahu, but if Mars is in an air sign in your birth chart, and then Rahu is going in trine, like I said, whether your Mars is in Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, there's going to be this sudden desire to increase your muscles. A lot of such people will be joining gyms. But those who are in gym, be careful, because you will be enticed to use steroids. And that's something you don't want to do, because the side effects of it are lifelong. So, like I said, Rahu brings that hunger, Rahu brings that expansion, but then at the same time, Rahu also brings in that manipulation with it. And that's what you want to be careful of, is that manipulation part. And especially like this is the period where especially your younger brother can become part of a scam. So you just want to tell them, listen, from literally now, March onwards, till 2027, okay, any financial deals that comes to you, and this person you just met or something online, you should not go for those things until you have read through the actual thing 100 times. Okay. Because especially Mars Rahu, okay, always can bring in a very strong, manipulative male figure individual to take your asset. Because Mars is Prithvi, Mars is Earth. It is the asset. And how does it happen? It's going to happen through a communication device. Because it's an air sign. You're not flying now to meet someone and talk to someone. Is through phone. And especially you will see Mars Rahu Mars Rahu connection this year. Many a times your devices will fail, will break. You will have to change your phone multiple times. Okay, so when you buy a phone, don't just get the box and bring it home. Open it there and see, is it functioning well? Is it functioning not well? Because this way then you can exchange it right away. If you can, even take an extended warranty on it. Make sure there is extended warranty on your cars, on any machine that you get, because Mars is a machine. So what is a car? Car is Venus, fine. But how is that operating? It's operating through machine. Okay. Now, next we're going to see Rahu Jupiter. So Rahu is going to meet your Jupiter. Whether it meets your Jupiter in Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra. Okay. And what is Jupiter? First of all, Jupiter is you. The Jiva Atma, the Jiva Karka, the living soul of the chart. That means when Rahu is now meeting Jupiter, especially around those 5 degrees behind and 5 degrees forward, ambition to go to a foreign place is going to be upon your consciousness. This is the time period a person is going to try aggressively, obsessively to leave home for a faraway place. Now, foreign lands doesn't necessarily have to be a foreign, distant land, some different country. It can simply be, if let's say somebody is in California and suddenly they just want to go to Florida, other end of the country, other end of the ocean. You're living in New Delhi. From there, suddenly you would get an opportunity for things like Bangalore, Mumbai. And because of the fact your Jupiter is in air, air signs, with Rahu coming, obsession towards teaching, communication of providing some solution, counseling, advising is going to be active. Like you will see, especially with you, with Rahu going over your Jupiter, you will suddenly be like, even if you're a mathematician, insurance salesperson, you'll be like, I want to now start teaching people online. I want to be on social media talking about what I know, the expertise that I know. Because at one point, you're going to have 5 billion influencers online. Okay? Because it's rapidly growing. So everybody's going to be some form of a teacher advisor, but this is the point that is going to trigger that. And because Jupiter is fat, Jupiter is liver, you're going to start eating junk food. Junk food becomes active for this person. Because what will junk food do? Increase your fat. What will junk food do? Can give you fatty liver. So of course, diet is going to have to be a very strong precaution. Where, like, for example, if Ketu is with Jupiter, diet change will happen just like that. You will naturally make your diet very plain and simple. Okay, but here Rahu is going to excite this person regarding, and especially you will see the appetite will increase. Because remember, Jupiter is fat. Jupiter is fat, Jupiter is liver, and so the appetite of individual increase to consume. Like especially if you put regular ghee in your dal, you'll put extra ghee in your dal. Jupiter Rahu, you will see a lot of sinus issues will happen during that time period, especially in the morning. Okay, actually early morning or dusk period. Okay, because all the air signs are either early morning or dusk. Why? What is the time period of Mercury? Dusk and dawn, right? What is the time period of Saturn when sun is setting? What is the time period of Venus? Early morning where you can see the star, or in right an hour after sunset when you can see Venus. So it's in those time periods you will see the sinus issue becomes active. Okay. Rahu Jupiter. Most definitely Jupiter is banking. So here, one has to be careful of, what one does, the decisions you make impulsively related to your banking. Because especially between now and May, June, I would say just April to June, whenever Rahu, Ketu are switching sign, they're very impulsive. So you can impulsively switch your bank and then lose some benefits. Okay, you don't want to get caught up in some scam, because again, Jupiter is a Jataka and Rahu is right there. You can get caught up in manipulation and scam. So in that particular case, then the bank can, close your account, even if it's not your fault. Then, like I said, Jupiter's wisdom and teaching. One will meet with this part of Jupiter, one will meet a teacher of a different culture, ethnic background. Okay. And in this period, you will try to do some big form of learning and teaching. Like a lot of young people who are looking to get their PhD and start teaching, the teaching job is upon you. You'll be able to get into big institutions, big universities to teach. So on that end, it's a great period. If you, let's say, have a school, you're wanting to teach, those things will expand. Okay. So this was our Jupiter Rahu. And then next is going to be Jupiter or Rahu and Saturn. Now Saturn, which is in your air signs, comes across Rahu. And especially both Saturn and Rahu rule the sign of Aquarius. Okay, and what is Saturn? Saturn is your karma. Karma and Rahu are coming together. And this is where Saturn Rahu people, especially in the air sign, needs to be very careful in becoming a victim of manipulation and scam. Okay, that's the first thing. Number two, confusion sets in. And it's nothing out of the ordinary confusion. Confusion simply sets in. Why am I doing this? What's the point of doing this? What benefit am I getting? What is the profit that I'm going to get in this? Because remember, Aquarius is what? Aquarius is a sign of desire. Right? They call it Ichhapurti. So what happens when Rahu goes and meets Saturn in Aquarius or in Libra or in Gemini? A person questions, okay, why am I pursuing this thing so badly and hard? What is the profit? And because of those questions, usually a person, that confusion sets in, right? Should I be pursuing this or not? So here, a person with Rahu and Saturn wants to have some major change happen in their profession. Like a lot of people with this, more than retirement, they feel like it's time. I need to do something big with my profession. I need to do something great with my profession. I want to be recognized in my profession. So this is where that change comes in, and especially if you're looking for employment in a foreign country, out of the country, or with even multinational companies, this is now the period that's going to give you those things. Especially again, 5 degrees behind or forward to your Saturn. So if your Saturn is at, let's say, 15 degrees Aquarius. So it's only when Rahu is at 20 degrees and around up to 11 degrees is when this Rahu and Saturn game will be played the most. Because once then Saturn crosses or Rahu crosses Saturn, then it's like, okay, I did what I'm supposed to. I'm going to go forward. But still, it can hear the voice and screams of Saturn or the planet. Like, hey, also do this. Hey, do this. Come on. It's like, all right. So when it's moving forward, it has already gone past that. Okay. At the same time, Rahu Saturn triggers many people to go to acupuncturists. You will go to acupuncturists. You're going to seek oral, foreign, traditional medicine or health regimes for yourself. Because Saturn is naturally, if Jupiter is the Jiva Karka, Saturn is Ayush Karka. That means a person feels like, I need to increase my longevity. I need to do something with my body so I can stay healthy and live long. And this is where a foreign tradition comes in. Okay, and because Saturn is old and oral traditional medical ways will be taken into play. Usually I always see Saturn Rahu with acupuncture and Chinese medicine. So you may definitely go there, or you can even just go to a traditional doctor or herbologist or homeopathic doctor or something. Such people will do that with this particular Saturn Rahu. But one thing, like I said, one will become part of or can become part of some manipulation in their profession and career, meaning like you were supposed to get this big promotion and suddenly it's not given to you because somehow the person who just came in, who might be, let's say, the long distance cousin of the boss, gets the promotion. And because of that, it now triggers you to seek something far. But if you are in foreign lands, if you are far, then this particular alignment of Saturn Rahu works much better in those particular terms of getting some big things accomplished, and especially when Saturn is meeting Rahu. Such people will do things in a big way. They are wanting to start their business in a big way. They want to start their job in a big way. They'll have big drum beating, but you want to make sure how the alignment of Saturn is in your birth chart. Because sometimes doing celebrations related to your business, job, including promotions and bonuses, it can have a reverse effect. So you want to be careful to see how your Saturn is, if you should be doing those particular celebrations. You can especially see that with the progression of Saturn, if you should be. And of course, you can obviously get the progression reading from me at Astrology.com, which tells you that, hey, for 30 years or at least for 15 years, don't do any of this. You get a bonus check, just put it in your pocket, go. Deposit the check and go on your work. Okay. So this was our Saturn Rahu. So especially when Rahu is going over Rahu and Ketu, what simply is happening is, let's say Rahu is going over Ketu. Your ambition towards research, your ambition and hunger for spiritual knowledge, occult, mysticism, suddenly becomes active. Your hunger for analyzing things will become active. Things which are deep within, hidden underneath, suddenly Rahu wants to bring them out to you. Well, Rahu over Rahu, is simply the triggering of your ambition and obsession to whichever house that Rahu is placed in Aquarius. So that's how simply you can see this, but it really does more in 1, 7, and 4, 10 axis. But again, when Rahu meets especially Ketu, it's going to trigger things connected with Ketu, and you're going to want to expand them. If, let's say, somebody wants to do astrology, this would be the great time to get into astrology, learn astrology, do astrology. This will be a great time. You will learn some big secrets of astrology and occult and meditation, tantra. All these things become triggered. Okay. And